how bad he thought the economy was, but I got to get on to the next big deal. This is big. It has, or could have, let me put it that way, could have major consequences for Obama's lawsuit at the Supreme Court, where they are defending the individual mandate as constitutional at the U.S. Supreme Court. The administration, the regime, is defending Obamacare in court on the ground that the fines, the money Americans have to pay under the mandate if they don't buy insurance is a tax. They are saying it is a tax, therefore, and they have the power to levy taxes. It's not a fine, it's not a mandate, it's a tax, and therefore they have the ability to do this, and therefore Obamacare is constitutional. The only problem is that the Obama budget director is up on Capitol Hill today, and he's being peppered with questions about Obama's latest campaign document, the budget. Let's go to the audio soundbites. Mentioned this a moment ago. Representative Scott Garrett, Republican, New Jersey. You did just say that there are no tax increases for those folks making under $250,000. Now, if I am part of a family who does not buy health insurance in violation of the president's health care program, and I've got to pay a fine because of that, that is not a tax on me?
The Affordable Care Act saves money.
I understand that, but is that a tax on me then if I do not pay with that? Or is that not a tax?
I'm not sure I'm following the question.
You said there's no tax increases if people make under $250,000. If I make under $250,000 and I do not buy health insurance as I'm required to, is that a tax on me or is that not a tax on me?
Well,
a moment ago you said there's no tax increase, but that's not a tax.
No.
That's not a tax. Okay, that's just want to be clear on that because that's not the argument that the administration is making before the Supreme Court.
This guy has stepped in it. This guy Zients, Jeff Zients, clearly out of his, doesn't know what's going on up there. They've sent him up there to defend the budget. And he's gone up there with his template, his narrative. Obamacare saves money. This budget will reduce the deficit. This budget will raise revenue. This budget will bring us into balance, and by all the lies, all the cockamamie crap that this administration is telling everybody this guy is armed with. He gets a question. He's not even... It sounds like he's not even prepped for it. Now, wait a minute now. This fine that people have to pay, if they make under $250,000, because the president has said that there'll be no tax increase on people that make $250,000 or less. So if I have to pay money, whatever you call it, fine, whatever, if I don't buy health insurance, is that a tax? No, not a tax. He has to say that in order to perpetuate the lie that there are no tax increases on people that earn less than $250,000. And in saying that there's no tax, he just undermined the entire Obama case at the Supreme Court. And I will guarantee you that even as we speak, a transcript and probably the audio as well is being sent lickety-split to the lawyers arguing that Obamacare is unconstitutional before the Supreme Court. I'm sure they've got this in their possession even now. Now, the soundbite, it wasn't over. After Zients admitted that it is not a tax, and remember, folks, the regime, Obama is saying that it is a tax. The fine, the money you pay for not buying health insurance is a tax. That's what gives them the power to levy it and collect it and have it all be constitutional. But their budget directive is not a tax. So then Garrett and Zients continue to discuss this.
If we pass this budget tomorrow, when does the budget balance in this country under your proposal?
We achieve significant progress.
I'm just looking for a year.
We achieve significant progress.
Just a year. Just a year. When does this budget balance in this country under your proposal?
This budget makes a serious...
Just a year.
No.
Just a year. Can you tell me when this budget balances?
That's not a year question.
He's not answering the question. It's a simple question. I'm looking for a year. What year does your budget ever balance?
This budget makes significant progress across this decade. The president is willing...
Is your answer that this budget never balances?
He's willing to do more work to drive
Is your answer this budget never balances?
Time for the gentleman has expired. He's obviously not going to answer the question.
Right. The answer is never. And that's what this doofus can't save. That might be mine. Is that from L.A.? It can't balance ever because it doesn't balance ever. Did that not sound pathetic? I mean, that's hilarious. That sounds like a Saturday Night Live script. That sounds like Bob Torricelli defending the watches and the cash that he got when he was a senator. Snerdley, I don't think he didn't hear this, did he? He's in their screening calls. Snerdley, stop screening. Tap him on the shoulder. Okay, I want you to hear this. People are going to react to this. This is after Zients admits that the fine is not a tax. And remember, the administration is arguing before the Supreme Court that it is a tax. So the budget directors undermined the Supreme Court case of Obamacare. Scott Garrett, Republican New Jersey, continues to pepper the guy about the budget.
If we pass this budget tomorrow, when does the budget balance in this country under your proposal?
We achieve significant progress.
I'm just looking for a year.
That we achieve significant progress.
Just a year.
We bring
just a year. When does this budget balance in this country under your proposal?
This budget makes a serious.
Just a year.
No.
Just a year. Can you tell me when
that's
this
not
budget
balance? That's not a year question.
He's not answering the question. It's a simple question. I'm looking for a year. What year does your budget ever balance?
This budget makes significant progress across this decade. The president is willing.
Is your answer that this budget never balances?
He's willing to do more work to drive.
Is your answer this
progress.
budget never balances?
Time for the gentleman has expired. The witness is obviously not going to answer the question.
This is hilarious. It doesn't balance. That's why it never comes into. But this guy is up there with just a bunch of meaningless BS. A meaningless bunch of phrases. We achieved significant progress. Achieved significant progress. The president is looking to achieve significant progress. Budget makes significant progress across. That's all he's going to say because it doesn't balance. It's not even a budget. It's a campaign document. Now, this poor guy Zients is reading from an old script on ABC's This Week. Back September 20th, 2009. Obama talking to Stephanopoulos. Obama said, for us to say that you have to take responsibility to get health insurance, absolutely not a tax increase. Stephanopoulos, at the point, whipped out a dictionary, read the definition of a tax, and despite hearing what the definition of a tax or a tax increase was, Obama stood his ground. Nobody considers this a tax increase. Nobody considers this fine to be a tax. And yet that's what they are now arguing. Let's continue with the audio soundbite. September 20th, 2009. This week with George Stephanopoulos. Stephanopoulos says, under this mandate, the government is forcing people to spend money and fining them if they don't. How is that not a tax increase?
No, that's not true, George. For us to say that you've got to take a responsibility to get health insurance is absolutely not a tax increase. What it's saying is that we're not going to have other people carrying your burdens for you, any more than the fact that right now everybody in America just about has to get auto insurance. Nobody considers that a tax increase. People say to themselves, that is a fair way to make sure that if you hit my car, that I'm not covering all the costs.
So not only is Obama's budget director undermining Obama's case before the Supreme Court, so did Obama himself undermine his own case. September 2009. It's not a tax increase, George. Nobody thinks it's a tax increase. It can't possibly be a tax increase. But they're arguing before the U.S. Supreme Court that the fine is not a tax. It is a tax. They're arguing at the court that it is a tax and that they have the power to levy taxes, and therefore all of this is constitutional. And don't forget, during the 2008 campaign, Obama tried to nail Hillary to the wall on the mandate itself. He was opposed to a mandate in 2008 during the presidential campaign. He was opposed to that, which he's now put in his bill. September 20th, 2009, This Week with Stephanopoulos. Stephanopoulos says, well, look, it may be fair and it may be good public policy, but for you to say that this isn't a tax, this just...
No, but George, you can't just make up that language and decide that that's called a tax increase.
I don't think I'm making it up. Merriam-Webster's dictionary. Tax, a charge usually of money imposed by authority on persons or property for public purposes.
George, the fact that you looked up Merriam's dictionary, the definition of tax increase, indicates to me that you're stretching a little bit right now. Otherwise, you wouldn't have gone to the dictionary to check on the definition.
Well, no.
I mean, if what you're saying is...
I wanted to check for myself, but your critics say it is a tax increase.
My critics say everything's a tax increase. My critics say that I'm taking over every sector of the economy. You know that. Look, we can have a legitimate debate about whether or not we're going to have an individual mandate or not. But
you reject that it's a tax increase.
I absolutely reject that notion.
My friends, I don't know if you understand quite yet the import of all this. Today, Jeff Zients, the budget director, ain't no way that this fine can be called a tax increase. Obama, September 20th, 2009. George, you go get the dictionary to look up the definition of a tax. The fact that you do that means that this can't possibly be. There is no tax increase here. And yet this is the same bunch arguing that the fine, the collection of money paid by people in lieu of buying health insurance, is a tax. They're undermining themselves left and right. And the reason is Obama has promised that there will be no tax increase on people making under $250,000 a year. So they're caught here. What premise do they need to be consistent on? And they have decided that they're going to be consistent on the premise that nobody earning less than $250K will get a tax increase. And in the process, they are undermining themselves at the Supreme Court. Be right back. Don't go away.